While we're already talking about tough stuff, let's turn to sexting. An early headline in our research was the realization that some teens sext even when they're well aware of the risks. Part of this is almost surely developmental, since the calculus around risky decisions is actually influenced by neural developments that seem to distort teens' judgments about the likelihood of risks actually happening to them. They can think, sure, that happens, a sext is leaked, a car accident, whatever, but it wouldn't happen to me. Part of adolescence is this feeling that we're exceptional and in some ways exempt from statistics that we hear. But there are other relevant layers behind teen sexting decision-making. Some of the reasons for sexting are, teens told us, quite consensual and wanted, at least initially, like when teens are sexting with their significant others as an extension of intimacy that's happening offline. As we talked with teens, we heard stories of older teens sexting where nothing bad happened. No leaks, no violations of trust, no horrific consequences. Adults would dish out stories about worst-case scenarios, but they'd be sitting there thinking about all the people they knew who sexted seemingly without issue. And so the messages from adults wouldn't really land. Or they'd be weighing them against a strong desire to impress or connect with the asker. In some cases, teens seem to sext because they actually just can't figure out how to say no, or because the asker is so persistent and wears them down. Our data suggested that middle school girls are especially worried about being pressured for pics, and they seem to feel least confident about dealing with unwanted requests. That said, we should acknowledge that all genders can feel pressure around sexting. Some boys ask for sexts because of a sense that's real or imagined of social pressure that they should be asking. Some boys also worry about sending their own nudes because they have body insecurities. Am I okay? Do I look normal? We heard too from teens of all genders about concerns that saying no would have real or imagined consequences. Maybe the asker is threatening to spread a rumor. Maybe it's a teen who has sent nudes in the past and the asker is threatening to release the old nudes if the person doesn't send more. As these examples suggest, sexting can definitely fall short of consent, and this is especially true in cases where pictures are shared or forwarded without permission. In such cases, consent is completely violated. Maybe you've already caught that once again, there's a spectrum at play, and when adults only tune into one narrow sliver of it, we miss a lot of what teens are navigating and thinking about. A few examples shared by older teens really struck us because of the way they captured sexting dilemmas. These might be old news by the time you are watching this video, but they speak to an interesting component of the sexting landscape that might not be on your radar. One strategy was watermarking nudes. Girls typically talking about adding the name of the boy they're sending a picture to as a very small watermark on the image, a kind of insurance policy so that if the picture is ever leaked, his name is on it and everyone knows who sent it out. Another was the practice of running a Google search for a nude or semi-nude body part that could look like they might be yours, and then sending those images pretending they are yours, but not before screenshotting them in the context of the Google search results, essentially creating your own receipts and sending that screenshot, the receipt, to your friends so that you can prove that it's not really you in case you ever need to in the future. Isn't this all kind of wild to think about? Why go to so much trouble? Why not just say no when someone asks for a picture? Carrie and I think these strategies signal that when teens and especially girls feel like there are no good choices, they get creative. We came to see these kinds of strategies like survival tactics and a signal of how hard it can feel to navigate sexting. When it comes to sexting, it's also worth acknowledging that however it happened in the first place, sometimes things go wrong. A sext is leaked, and it becomes a whole school event in some cases. We repeatedly heard teens voice their frustration with school and parent responses that make things worse for the person whose nudes have been leaked, doubling down on consequences for them, but often with minimal consequences for the person who did the leaking or for the people who spread it further. Teens see leaked sexts as a violation of consent in the simplest terms, and they don't really get why most adults don't. Our research team also started to see another way that this typical adult reaction can backfire. If we just focus on the idea that the sender should never have taken the picture, we send a sort of subtle message that it's their own fault that it got leaked. And this can make teens feel even more justified in circulating or forwarding other people's nudes when they receive them. After all, it's your bad for taking the picture in the first place. Disrupting this culture means that we have to be very clear with teens that it is never okay to forward another person's picture if you receive it.